A tall black man stepped onto a stifling bus in downtown Phoenix, hoping only for a peaceful ride back home. But a vicious voice tore through the air, a woman shouting with venom, insisting he didn't belong, demanding he get off. Her insults struck like daggers. When he revealed his federal credentials, the look on her face shattered, and everyone on that bus witnessed a reckoning that would reverberate well beyond that route. It was an oppressively hot Tuesday, 6:32 p.m., with the kind of Arizona heat that clings to your skin like a soaked blanket, offering no escape. Elijah Moore, 46, boarded Route 17 at the corner of Central Avenue and Jefferson Street, his navy blazer slung over one shoulder, his tie bunched in his back pocket, and his worn leather briefcase heavy with years of casework. All he wanted was a place to sit, a breath of air, maybe a second to call his daughter and snag tickets to the Suns' home opener before retreating to his South Mountain apartment and cracking open a beer. The interior reeked of sun-baked plastic, burnt coffee, and the unmistakable tang of body heat. The usual evening crowd was packed in, tired office workers glued to their screens, nurses in faded uniforms, high schoolers nodding to music through oversized headphones. Elijah scanned the cabin and found a vacant seat halfway down, settling beside a wiry guy gnawing on a protein bar who gave a curt nod and returned to his playlist. Then came a voice, sharp, jagged, and loud, cutting through the bus's mechanical hum like a siren. "Oh no, no way. You think you can just waltz in here like you own it." Elijah glanced up, locking eyes with a woman standing 4 rows away, her fists gripping the support rail like she meant to rip it loose. She looked mid-50s, wiry frame, bleached hair scraped back tight, a cheap floral blouse stretched over tense shoulders, and a sneer that could peel paint. Her name, he'd find out later, was Diane Matthews. A legal assistant who rode this route daily, she carried herself like she'd been appointed Queen of the 17 line. Her stare pierced him, mouth twitching with hostility. "This ain't your ride, pal. Hop off at the next stop now." Elijah inclined his head slightly, keeping his tone cool and composed, like calming down a witness on the brink. "Ma'am, I'm just heading home. Paid my fare, same as everyone here." Diane's lips curled like she'd bitten something bitter. "Don't ma'am me, slick. I know your kind. Sliding in, taking over, pretending you have a claim." The bus jolted forward, weaving through traffic, but her tirade grew louder, shriller, gathering eyes from all corners of the bus. A teen with box braids lowered her phone, jaw slack. An older man in a denim ball cap shifted uncomfortably. A woman hugging a canvas shopping bag froze, eyes darting between Elijah and Diane. Elijah could feel the air thickening, not just with heat, but with the heavy, familiar weight of knowing exactly what this was. He'd seen it before, followed by store clerks like he might snatch a candy bar, co-workers stunned he'd landed a lead role on a case, murmuring about quotas. At 24, he'd been slammed against a squad car for matching a description, 2 blocks from his mother's house. Now 46, he didn't scare easily, but that weight? It never leaves. He leaned back, arms crossed, and said, "So, my type? Want to clarify that?" Diane pounced, raising her voice to a shriek that made the protein bar guy flinch and yank out an earbud. "Don't play dumb, boy," she spat, the word deliberate slicing through the bus like a blade. "Your people always storm in, wrecking what's decent. This is my city. I'm fed up with all you freeloaders." The word boy hung heavy and foul in the air, like a dropped brick in a silent room. The girl with braids whispered to her friend, "No way she just said that." A guy in a reflective vest clenched his jaw. The woman with the grocery bag looked down, fidgeting with her keys. At least 4 phones were pointed discreetly now, catching the moment like buzzards circling. Elijah didn't even blink. He'd heard worse. Insults in bars. Jokes at office parties that were just racism with a laugh track. But the ease with which she said it, like it rolled off her tongue daily, gnawed at him. His gaze stayed locked on hers, voice even but steely. "You're making a lot of noise, ma'am. But you're not making a lick of sense. Nobody else here has a problem. Why don't you sit down and let us get home?" Diane let out a bitter laugh that bounced off the windows. She stormed closer, finger jabbing like a weapon. Take a seat? You don't get to give orders, trash. Get off this bus. Crawl back to whatever sewer you slithered out of. The bus leaned into a turn and she stumbled, catching the rail. But her fury didn't skip a beat. I pay taxes. I bust my tail. I'm sick of deadbeats like you thinking they can take what's mine. You're nothing. You hear me? Nothing. Every syllable of nothing hit like a slap. The driver, a bulky man named Gus, glanced in the mirror, frowning. Yo, what's going on back there? He asked, voice barely cutting through a car horn. Diane spun to face him. Gus, this guy's causing a scene. I told him to get off, but he's sitting there like he's royalty. Elijah raised one hand, slow and clear. I'm good, Gus. Just trying to ride home. Gus sighed, eyes flicking to Diane. Lady, chill. We're coming up on the next stop. Let's all keep it cool. But Diane wasn't cooling. She turned back to Elijah, sweating now, words coming fast and wild. You heard him. Next stop, you're gone, or I swear I'll make you wish you had. You dirty... She choked mid-slur, the word unsaid but heavy with poison. Everyone heard it. Elijah didn't budge. That familiar burn kindled inside, not rage yet, just a hot coal from 100 other moments like this. He thought of his daughter, Simone, 22, pulling all-nighters at UCLA, who once asked, Dad, how do you not explode when stuff like this happens? He'd told her, You save your fire for the battles that matter. He inhaled, exhaled, then leaned forward, calm and precise. You're making noise, Diane, but you're about to make a mistake you won't walk back from. Sure you want to keep digging? Her name, a gift from a friend's casual, Hey, Diane, when she got on, landed like a dart. She froze for a second. Then she stepped closer, casting her shadow across his lap. Threatening me now, huh? Think you're some big shot in your off-the-rack suit? The tension on the bus shifted. Electric now, the kind that splits a room down the middle. The girl with braids stood. Ma'am, you're embarrassing yourself. He's just sitting there. Others followed, a few claps, a couple, that's right. The woman with the groceries nodded. She's out of line. The man in the vest said, Ma'am, back off. Diane turned, stunned. Mind your damn business, she barked. But the girl, her name was Tiana, crossed her arms. Nah, you made it our business. Even the protein bar guy chimed in. Yo, it's you causing the scene. Diane's face turned beet red, veins showing. She whipped back to Elijah. This isn't over. You don't scare me. You don't belong here. You're a leech, a parasite, and I'm going to make sure people know it. The word parasite cracked in her throat, brittle, desperate, like she was grasping at control that had already vanished. The bus thudded through a pothole. She didn't even flinch, just kept glaring like Elijah had robbed her of something just by existing. That's when he reached into his inner jacket pocket, slow and deliberate. Then, without saying a word, he flipped it open. The gold FBI badge caught the light. Gasps echoed. A woman up front whispered, No way. Tiana covered her mouth. Diane froze. Elijah spoke softly, his voice iron wrapped in velvet. Would you like to file an official complaint, ma'am? I can take your statement right now. He didn't raise his voice, didn't rise from his seat, didn't give her the fire she was clearly digging for. Instead, he smiled, just a subtle lift of his lips, the kind that says, You're playing checkers and I've already won the game 3 turns ago. His hand moved slowly, no rush, no drama, slipping inside his jacket with the ease of a man who'd done this dance too many times. His fingers found the worn leather wallet that had seen the insides of courtrooms, stakeouts, and classified meetings for nearly 2 decades. He didn't flip it open fast. He didn't need to. With a calm grace, he held it up. A brief beat passed, then another. The FBI badge caught the flickering bus lights, deep blue, polished gold, a silent thunder that cracked through the cabin. I go where I please, he said, his voice like carved granite. "Now are you done shouting, or are you still committed to this mess?" Diane, Karen, whatever armor she wore, froze. Her mouth fell open like someone had slapped her mid-sentence, and nothing came out. Her eyes, once blazing, were now stunned wide, staring at the badge like it was a grenade. That little rectangle of authority had just bulldozed her entire argument. Silence dropped over the bus like a heavy blanket. No cough, no shift. Just the hum of the wheels and Tiana whispering, "Oh my God," with a grin stretching from ear to ear. Devin let out a slow chuckle, like someone had just pulled a rabbit from a hat. The older guy in the trucker hat leaned back and muttered, "Well, I'll be damned." Vernon caught the reflection in the rearview mirror, eyebrows arching, lips twitching like he was holding in a laugh. "All right then," he said under his breath and turned back to the road. Marcus slid the badge back into his jacket, leaned into his seat like nothing had happened, and fixed his gaze on Karen, not smug, not gloating, but with the quiet weight of someone who sees deeper, through her anger, past her prejudice, right into the trembling fear that fed it. "Find a seat," he said, voice low, calm, final, like the last word in a court ruling. Karen stood frozen, one hand still midair, her expression drained from flushed fury to pale regret. Her mouth opened, closed again. For a second, she looked like she might come back with something, but the words didn't show. The crowd's eyes were no longer curious. They were sharp now, watching her, judging. She stumbled back, nearly catching her foot on someone's tote bag, then collapsed into a seat near the front. She clutched her purse like a life preserver. Her hair had come undone, strands falling out of the bun, but she didn't fix it. Just sat there, head bowed, eyes locked on the grimy floor. The whole bus seemed to breathe again, tensions snapping like a stretched cable. Whispers rose mixed with laughter, disbelief crackling like static. Tiana leaned across the aisle, eyes sparkling. "Yo, you really FBI? Like, for real?" Marcus nodded, lips curled just slightly. "For real?" Tiana laughed, shaking her head in wonder. "Man, she got wrecked. Never saw that one coming." Devin crumpled his snack wrapper, grinning. "Bet she's rewriting her whole damn life right now." Marcus just gazed out the window. The Phoenix dust glowed against the streets. Neon signs buzzing, street food carts packing up, skateboarders carving between cars. "She'll learn, or she won't," he said, more to himself than anyone else. But he knew this wasn't just about her. It was about the shield she wore, assumptions passed off as instinct, prejudice masked as pride. She saw him as a problem before he ever said a word. He'd worn that label his whole life. From being stopped at 15 walking home in Vine City because he matched a description, to being side-eyed at Morehouse when professors suggested he'd have to be twice as good, to the FBI where every room he walked into carried silent questions. Does he belong? Karen wasn't new, she was just louder. He thought of Jamal, his son, probably tucked into a hoodie somewhere, headphones on, coding late into the night at Georgia Tech. Marcus raised him with his back straight, eyes clear, never shrinking for anyone. He'd tell him this story, not for ego, but as a lesson. You don't beat ignorance by shouting. You beat it by standing so still, so solid it can't move you. At Spring Street, a few passengers got off, some with quick glances at Marcus like he'd stepped off a movie set. He didn't move, just kept his briefcase on his lap, eyes on the road. He could still feel Karen up there, her presence reduced, her purse now more of a barricade than an accessory. She hadn't looked up once since sitting down. The bus settled into a new rhythm, alive with whispered conversations. Tiana and her friend, a girl with ombre braids named Kesha, were deep in discussion. "She called him boy like she's living in the damn past," Kesha said, shaking her head. Tiana clicked her tongue. People like that think they're untouchable until they find out they're not. Across the aisle, the construction guy, Rico, leaned toward Devin. "Man, I wanted to say something, but he handled it clean. Didn't even blink." Devin nodded. "That's how you do it. Let 'em hang themselves with their own rope." Marcus caught pieces of it all, eyes still drifting his way. Not hostile, just intrigued, respectful, curious, a few just plain nosy. He kept his gaze on the window, the city's pulse calming him. Bodegas, a mural fading, a food cart steaming tamales under the glow of a flickering streetlight, and his mind drifted, not to Karen, to other moments, to when a cop stopped him at 15 and didn't say sorry, to when a colleague joked about diversity hires and looked right at him, to his grandmother, long gone now, sitting him down at that tiny kitchen table, her hands tough from cleaning other people's homes, saying, "Baby, they'll try to shrink you, but you're bigger than their lies. Walk like it." That voice was with him now, still guiding, still holding him steady. Karen didn't speak again, not until the next stop. When she stood, it was slow, stiff, her purse clutched tight like a shield. She reached the door and paused, just for a second, her face turning toward Marcus. Not fully, just enough to see him from the corner of her eye. Her lips parted. Maybe to say sorry, maybe to explain. But the words caught. Nothing came. She stepped off into the Phoenix night, past a vape shop glowing purple in the distance. Marcus didn't watch her go. He didn't need to. Her regret wasn't his burden. The moment didn't belong to her anymore. It belonged to every soul who'd witnessed it, and the internet. Because Kesha had filmed the whole thing, 47 seconds of raw truth, Karen's venom, Marcus's calm, the badge shining like a blade. By 9:15 p.m., it was on X, captioned, "Karen on Phoenix bus gets leveled by FBI agent." 15K views, then 80K by sunrise. Comments poured in, "Legend. She got obliterated. Why is it always the loud ones?" At 11:17 p.m., Jamal texted, "Yo, Dad, you're viral. You good?" Marcus replied, "I'm good, son. Get some rest." But he smiled, because he knew Jamal was proud, even if he'd never say it straight. Karen's life got quieter. The video made its way to her firm. Someone recognized her blouse, the bun. By Friday, HR called her into a closed-door meeting. Words like conduct and reputation were tossed around. She didn't lose the job, but she got benched, a write-up. Mandatory bias training, which she later called overkill. Her coworkers weren't forgiving. They mimicked her screech in the copy room, called her Root Queen. Her kingdom gone. She switched buses, switched coffee spots. Atlanta didn't pause, and neither did Marcus. By Thursday, he'd closed a wire fraud case, quiet work, but the kind that actually saves people. Friday, he met Jamal for wings. "Dad, you looked like James Bond out there," Jamal said. Marcus wiped lemon pepper off his fingers. "Just doing my job." "Nah," Jamal said. "You did more." Marcus nodded. Let it sit. That was enough. Weeks later, he ran into Vernon at a gas station. "Man, they call you Agent Ice now at the depot," Vernon said, grinning. Marcus laughed. "Long as my coffee's hot, they can call me what they want." He felt it, though, the ripple. Tiana DM'd him. "I'm applying to pre-law. Because of you." Devin fist-bumped him on the bus. No words, just respect. That moment on the bus, it wasn't a trophy, it was a truth. You don't have to shout to be heard. Just stand tall enough that the world has no choice but to see you.